It's Pride Month, and I thought it would be nice to go through Prince's Dirty Mind from 1980. God, this album cover screams horny. This album would be the birth of Prince as the artist that he would be known for basically the 1980s. Also, a pretty good album to have a good shimmy shimmy in the bang bang, if you catch my drift. Now, by this point in Prince's career, he had already recorded in expensive, glossy commercial studios across California. Now, he felt stifled by the music industry and sought complete creative isolation. Financially backed by the success of his self-titled second album, he rented a home located at 680 North Arm Drive in Mound, Minnesota, roughly 20 miles from the west of Minneapolis. He built a makeshift 16-track recording studio in his basement and spent May and June of 1980 recording the record. The album's liner notes playfully obscured the location by stating it was recorded somewhere in Uptown. Prince wrote the majority of the lyrics and melodies in a blur of hotel rooms while traveling as the opening act on Rick James's grueling Fire It Up tour earlier that year. Instead of composing on a piano as he had previously done, he wrote mostly on a newly acquired electronic guitar, which naturally gave the tracks a harsher, faster, rock-infused edge. Upon returning to Minnesota, Prince barricaded himself in the basement, working at a frantic pace. He engineered the sessions himself and played nearly every single instrument, including drums, bass, guitars, and synthesizers. He recorded several songs entirely in a single night to maintain an air of mystique. He credited the engineering to a fictional alter ego named Jamie Starr, marking the very first time he used a pseudonym. The songs heard on the final release were never meant to be on the actual album. He recorded them merely as high-quality demos to show Warner he was working on. However, the tracks possessed a staggering raw urgency. Prince realized that re-recording them in a multi-million-dollar studio would sanitize their punk energy, so he fought his record label to release the rough basement tapes exactly as they were. Unlike the dense layered disco and R&B of the late 1970s, Prince stripped the sonic landscape bare. He utilized almost zero reverb or distortion, relying on bone-dry electronic drum machine patterns, sharp rhythm guitars, and whole mechanical synthesizer hooks. While it was overwhelmingly a solo effort, Prince utilized his live bands for specific sparks of inspiration. Keyboardist Dr. Fink came up with the title tracks, pulsating synth riff, bassist Andre Simone created the groove that formed Uptown, and a young Morris Day provided the drum beat that became Party Up. Prince also brought in newly recruited keyboardist Lisa Coleman to sing the evocative background vocals on the song Head. So, given all that, I'm sure we're going to be in for a very good project. So, hang on to your sex toys as we dive into the sexual innuendo that is the track list. This song is a literal slap in the face to traditional R&B listeners. He intentionally stripped away from the warm, lush horn arrangements and smooth string sections typical of contemporary black music, replacing them with a cold, robotic, punk-inspired palette. The song is driven entirely by a relentless stabbing 4x keyboard hook. Dr. Fink came up with the riff while fooling around during a rehearsal break. Prince immediately seized on its angular, hypnotic new wave energy, reminiscent of bands like The Cars or Devo, and built the entire track around that. The beat itself does just enough with its short, simple piano chords. I also like the sparse hits of hi-hats. He engineered the song using a technique known as bone dry mix. There is virtually no echo, reverb, or studio distortion. The electronic drum machine punch with a mechanical snap and bass line throbs in your ears. The funky rhythm guitar heard on the track is a completely clean Honor Telecaster copy. Instead of playing the sweeping rock solos, Prince uses the guitar as a percussive instrument, locking tightly into the drums to create a jittery, anxious dance groove. Lyrically, it's a continuous building of lust that mirrors a physical encounter. He starts in his lower register, letting the listener know his thoughts are being overtaken. He explicitly states the location, social standing, and standard dating etiquette do not matter. Around the final minute of the song, it dissolves into chaos with a mix of frantic synths, gasps, and unhinged screams, like stimulating a state of pure ecstasy before fading out. It's a pretty good start to the record. Granted, it didn't make me orgasm yet, but we're still getting there. Here we have a bit of a danceable summer jam. The song was written in early 1980 while Prince was on tour that I mentioned earlier. He was heavily inspired by the angular pop punk of contemporary white new wave bands like The Cars, Blondie, Elvis Costello. In the BBC documentary Hunting for Prince's Vault, Dr. Fink recalls that the entire backing band decided to take a day trip to Walt Disney World during a tour stop in Orlando. Prince declined to go. When the band returned to the hotel that evening, he was sitting on his balcony with acoustic guitar, having written this song entirely in their absence. Now, the backbone of the song is a bright, driving guitar riff that is very much like the surf rock sound from the 60s. He paired this with a Oberheim OBX synthesizer, dialed it to sound exactly like a cheap, ready vintage organ. Prince opens by admitting that he has completely surrendered to his dignity to an ex-lover who used him. The song takes a bit of a detour from traditional R&B lyrics once he states that he lacked standard romantic jealousy when his girlfriend slept with another man. I know. It's a good track as well. Put it on while you're at the beach and you'll have the best time of your life. This track is a shift toward more rhythmic minimalism, mechanical funk. This was the opener to his Dirty Mind tour across the United States, and during a brief stint in Paris, France in the spring of 1981, there are moments where Prince utilizes cold synthesizer sounds and an aggressive slap bass. This track is one of the many examples of him not wanting to play it safe, musically speaking. Lyrically, it's an unvarnished, directed ode to sexual endurance, stamina, and seduction. He taps into his intense desire and confidence. He addresses a woman who is holding back for focusing on superficial things. Throughout the verse, he pivots from a lower register, casual street conversation to a breathless falsetto, pleading with the woman to let her guard down. This one is more of an emotional standout on the project. It also has like that 1960s vibe to it, but it's like has more like rhythm, blues vibe that features minimal production, focusing on more of his vocals. His delivery is quite airy in his falsetto register, which is to be expected. It's the kind of song that only makes sense whenever you've just gotten done breaking up with a partner. Please just listen to this and please do not tell me this is not like the song to have on after you just got done with the breakup. It's like sexual and more about betrayal, touching on spending it all on long distance phone calls, begging her to come home, and not being able to get her out of his mind. Although it was polished and completed at Hollywood Sound Records in LA, the core of the track was born in the intimacy of Prince's North Arm drive home in the studio that I actually mentioned earlier. The Spartan DIY conditions of his home setup gave the song its raw, minimalist, and deeply personal feel. While the exact recording date is unknown, may have had the song in his archives as early as 1977 before it landed on this project. We have a musical love letter to his hometown of Minneapolis and one of his earliest efforts to blend political statements into his art. It's the kind of song that I think fits in today's world because of his stance on freedom when he meets a woman who asks if he's gay, but it leads to him rallying against prejudice. He has stated that he and his friends have gotten a lot of heat a lot of the time for their clothes, looks, and who they were with, resulting in a lot of street fights. I love the pounding drums leading to the keys on the chorus. The groove itself was actually built around a bass line created by Andre Simone. He was unfortunately uncredited, which fueled early tensions between the two. As far as tracking goes, Prince did every single instrument on the song, from the drums, guitar, bass, and keyboards, which is something Prince was widely known for. He never liked waiting on audio engineers, so he kept a microphone on boom stand permanently positioned directly over the mixing console. The song marks the very first appearance of his famous pseudonym, Jamie Starr. He listed Starr as a primary engineer to create the illusion that he had a tight creative team, a moniker that he would reuse for years. So yeah, this is my favorite track on the record with how liberating it is. Literally oral sex. the song. This was inspired by Prince's real-life ex-girlfriend, Darlene, who was engaged to be married when they first met. The woman initially begged off as a virgin on her way to be wed, but he convinces her otherwise. Instead of just taking her virginity, he offers an alternative, leading her to eventually abandoning the groom and marrying Prince out of pure sexual devotion. For a song like this around 1980, it was meant to create outrage, cementing his image as a erotic provocateur and a sexual imp. There's a sleek groove with squiggly sci-fi synthesizers, which are from Dr. Fink. I enjoy the wild distorted synth solo that matches the chaotic energy of the song's climax. When performing the song live, Prince mandated that Gail Chapman make out with him on stage. It was very uncomfortable for him that he was so turned off by it and decided to quit entirely. Needing a replacement, he hired Lisa Coleman. Believe it or not, she was the one who actually provides the breathless vocals on here. And Prince told her that if she could confidently sing the provocative lyrics, she could survive anything in his band. Another good song, and I'm pretty sure that if it were released today, so many people would still get their panties all up in the bunch. Literally the most explicit song on the entire record. Holy shit. It tells an interesting tale of a 16-year-old boy experiencing a sexual initiation with a much older sister that's twice his age. Mind you, that is 32. Oh god. God rest his soul, but Prince, what the actual fuck? The story is rumored to be loosely based on Prince's real-life half-sister, Sharon Nelson. As a teenager trying to make it in the music business, he briefly moved to New York and stayed with her. They had a falling out, largely due to financial struggles and disagreements over his publishing rights. The track itself is simple, layered with an aggressive, jagged, rock-style electric guitar riff and a crisp, steady drum machine. He focused more on a purposefully gritty, lo-fi aesthetic. The instruments are more angular and abrasive, capturing a raw punk energy that perfectly frames the taboo narrative. There's not much more to say about the song. Jesus Christ, what the fuck. I think it's fine. It's not terrible. It's definitely not mind-blowing. This shit would still get someone's panty up in the bunch today. We're closing the album with a political protest song. The song was born out of Prince's anger over Jimmy Carter's 1980 reinstatement of the Selective Service Registry, a measure that forced young men to sign up for the potential military draft. He was 22 at this point, and he had narrowly missed that requirement for the Vietnam War. He was deeply disturbed by the idea that young people being set to die over the mistakes of older politicians. It captures the minimal element like the rest of the album, which is with a deeply funky bass guitar, so it's less of a stereotypical party track and more of a much more stripped back. But there's no doubt that it has a lot of groove. Prince heard Morris Day's groove and fell in love with it. Prince offered him a choice: take $10,000 in cash or have him help Morris Day to get a major record deal. Now, Morris chose the record deal, which led to Prince forming the band The Time with Morris Day as lead singer. This track became a pivotal moment in Prince's career when he performed it on Saturday Night Live on February 21st, 1981, his first live television appearance. The performance cemented his status as a rebellious rock funk pioneer and became infamous among TV censors for an unedited live F-bomb version. The 80s were a crazy time. Okay, so that was Dirty Mind. Holy shit, damn, very much a good album. So there was a lot of horniness and a lot of rebellion, I'll say that much. Given this project from Prince, I think he could have filled in a lot of gaps, like with the overall production being more full in scope instead of just being mostly just minimal. While I could judge it on that front, the various intricacies throughout the album do it a lot of justice, from the funky grooves, bassline messages, and overall showmanship from Prince. While the album isn't mind-blowing, it's more than solid. It's good to my ears, which is why I'll give this a B. While it was a commercial disappointment compared to his previous release, it was a massive critical and artistic triumph that became Prince's first breakthrough with music critics. It sold 500,000 units in the US, peaking at number 45 on the US Billboard 200 and number 7 on the Billboard Top Black Albums chart. Uptown was such a standout hit, reaching number 5 on the Billboard Hot Soul Singles charts. The album was praised for its raw, unfiltered amalgamation of funk, new wave, and rock, famously cementing a 180-degree turn from his smoother earlier works. By breaking lyrical and genre barriers, the album's sound directly influenced generations of subsequent pop and R&B musicians. So yeah, that was a wild-ass ride through this record. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go put on my trench coat and make a lot more bad life choices in the bed in a few minutes with someone you may or may not know. As always, I'll see you on the next video.